Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the show. I'm Mark Bader. This is the Bader Show, episode 446. What's today? Oh my gosh, it's the middle of June, June 10th, 2025. And we got a great guest for today. U.S. Open champion. He's still in high school. It's Jax Forrest. Jax, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
Oh, good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Man, a lot of stuff I kind of want to cover today, talking about your career, but I just really want the start. How did you get started in wrestling? What was your introduction like?
Yeah, so I started wrestling when I was about 5. My dad actually wrestled in college. He wrestled at Binghamton. So I have 3 older sisters. I'm the first boy in the family. My dad loved wrestling, and so he wanted me to wrestle. So he kind of like would wrestle with me like in the house. It would drive my mom crazy. So my mom is like, "You got to take him somewhere to wrestle." So started wrestling when I was 5 at a club 30 minutes from where I was in North Carolina called Hurricanes. And, ever since then, I loved it. I was always like kind of like how I wrestle now. I was never like a normal wrestler. Even from 5 years old, I was doing weird stuff that I hadn't been taught and that I just tried out to see if it would work.
And it's kind of gone that way ever since. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
so you started when you were 5. When did you? And you said you liked it. Maybe it was right away. But like, when did you like? Well, first, do you remember your first match? I'm always curious about.
No,
No.
no. I don't remember my first match, but my parents tell me the story. So I kind of know the story of my first tournament,
All right.
which was just like a local, North Carolina tournament. And I ended up making the finals. And in the finals, I'm winning. I put the kid to his back and I call my own pin and then stand up. So like the ref didn't call it. So I just slapped him at pin him and got my points. And then this guy gets an escape because I just get up and like think I won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I thought I don't remember who it was. I just remember like slapping the mat and getting up, thinking, "Hey, he was flat. I won, right?" But that's the
Uh,
thing. My parents like to remind me of that.
I'm guessing that was the first and last time you did that.
Yeah, I think. I
Okay,
think.
that is amazing. All right, uh, man. Like, when did you? Again, maybe it was right away. But when did you get hooked? Right? When were you like, wow, this is for me. I'm all in, and this is like, it's kind of your life. You've dedicated your life
Yeah,
to it at this point.
yeah. I just I didn't necessarily like the. I mean, I liked wrestling, but I liked spending time with my dad. I liked the fact that I had 5 siblings at that point. And so normally I'm not like just hanging out one on one with my dad, but when I'm driving to tournaments, getting some fast food on the way home or something, that's why like I really liked wrestling. I liked spending time with my dad and just getting away with him and talking about sports and wrestling and just all this stuff. So, and then obviously I really got hooked on wrestling once like I started getting good and seeing a future. So like once I started getting in middle school, I noticed that like I was pretty good. Like I could hang with like some of the best guys in the country. And that's when like I started traveling because being from North Carolina, I traveled to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, all these places to try and get better. Seeing myself being good, I wanted to keep going back and just keep getting better. So I mean, I got hooked like that in an instant.
Yeah. I guess we'll take from that middle school age that you just spoke of. Like, when you were in middle school, were you thinking about states and winning state titles? And when you were in middle school, were you thinking about college and or senior level?
No, I mean, I always said, I wanted to be Olympic champion, world champion, NCAA champ, like, typical kid dreaming. But, I always told myself, being from a big family, my parents, if they had to pay for 6 kids for college, it'd be expensive. So my whole goal in wrestling was to go to college for free. I wanted to go to whatever school was going to, allow me to put my family and myself in the best position to like so that's like all my hard work. And my parents would talk about, hey, you know how much money we've spent on you traveling and wrestling. And I'm like, hey, I'm working to get my college paid for so that you guys don't have to worry about anything. So and then once I started, like I said, in that middle school, started really liking wrestling, then it's like, all right, now I actually have goals that I want to do. It's not just about just getting a scholarship or something. I want to be the best. I don't want to just get by.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of leads into my next part is just like the development, right? Obviously, you've developed at a fast rate. Um, your style's unique. Your body type, you got this lanky body, which is a little bit unique for wrestling, right? How do you like speaking to development, right? I guess what type of training do you like to do? Play wrestling, sparring, live wrestling, drilling, and I know you have to do them all, right? But which one
Mm.
helps you improve, you personally improve the most, or even it could be thinking about wrestling, right? I'm just trying to get inside your mind and understand how you develop,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah, for me, my favorite is play wrestling. I love play wrestling, getting in positions, figuring out on my own. But I think for me, for how I wrestle, for who I am as a like just as a person off the mat, the best thing for my development recently is slowing it down, really figuring out these positions so that when I'm in these play wrestling positions, that's what I'm doing. So like I know like today, for example, I was with Coach Zoe and we slowed it down. We're working on different positions, slowing, and then we eventually brought it up to a play wrestling. And so like that position we were working on today is like stuck in my mind. So now it's like it's gonna be there for if it's there in a match, which more than likely it's gonna be because it's muscle memory. I'm good at getting myself in the positions I want to get into.
yeah. How much do you think about wrestling outside of the room, right? And are you thinking about those little specific like positions that you're in?
Oh yeah, I think about wrestling probably too much, and that's like some of the guys down here telling me like, "Hey, stop focusing on wrestling. Like we're out of eating. Like we're just hanging out, having a good time. We're not thinking about wrestling moves or wrestling stuff." But for me, it's especially with my match with Vito coming up. That's kind of like I'm just trying to think about any possible situations that I could get in with him, just so it's like already there, so it's not a surprise for me. And that's a good thing about me, but it's also it can be pretty annoying if you're with me and you don't want to hear about all this wrestling stuff, and that's just I'm going on and on about it.
No, well, I've spent plenty of times with people like you, and that people who are
Oh
obsessed and just
yeah,
want to talk about it. Yanni pops into my head, like we were at the Beat the Streets years ago, and there's a gala afterwards, and everybody's mingling, and we're just sitting in the corner, like talking, just he won't shut up. I don't mean that in a bad way. It was just like
yeah,
exactly what you're describing. So that's cool.
yeah. It's like that's something me and my dad do it more than anybody, and that's where I get it from. Like, well, and my younger brother now the same way. We'll be at dinner, like in a restaurant, and I'll like grab him and I'll be like, "Hey, do you think this would work?" And so it drives my mom crazy. But like, well, me and my dad and my brother, we've gotten in some full wrestling matches in the kitchen where people are trying to cook and eat, and so it's like try not to break anything. We have a dog, so then the dog starts barking and that's going crazy, and then Jude starts crying because there's so much going on. It's fun. I like it.
Wrestlers are a different breed, that's for sure.
Oh,
Uh,
no doubt.
Okay, I want to talk about Bishop McCort because my understanding is when you got there or went there, I don't know exactly what they didn't have a program, or they had a program in the past and it for some
Uh-huh.
reason stopped, maybe 10, 20 years ago. I'm not really sure. And then you guys kind of like resurrected it, right, and brought it back. So maybe give me the timeline or some details around that and what happened.
Yeah, so I don't have like the full knowledge of history, but I know we had a state champ in late 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, something like that. But there's a school that goes like right across from us. It's called Westmont. It's
Okay.
like the borough where I live in. And so they would co-op with the Bishop McCourt team. So like the Bishop McCourt team would have like two people. So they're not gonna have a team. They're just gonna co-op with Westmont who already has a team. And then I think that ended, and then like a year or two, then we started coming in. So I think that's kind of how it worked out. I'm not like 100% sure, but I just know we used to like co-op with Westmont, and then we didn't anymore, and then we started going there. So now it's just us, and Westmont has like a separate team.
Like your freshman year, was that the first year that or do you know that the program kind of came back or?
No, because my eighth grade year, they had a team with like Mason Gibson, Devin Magro, a couple guys like that, Jordan Butler. Those guys were like freshmen and sophomore on the team. So then my dad was the coach, and I know the year before that, when I was still in North Carolina, that's when Mason wrestled in the state finals his freshman year. So I know they had a team that year, but like before Mason and all them got there, I'm not sure what it was looking like.
Yeah, good deal. Okay, that's high school. I want to talk about college, right? Like the recruiting
Yeah.
process, right? You and Bo kind of, he was put everything out there, and you were, a little bit more uh, close to the vest. What was the process like for you? Was it, were you always like, I know I want to go to Oklahoma State, or did that change when David came into play? And maybe just talk me through the recruiting process.
Yeah, so before June 15th, like I thought about some colleges, but I never was like, wow, I'm a big Oklahoma State fan. I'm a big Penn State fan. I'm a big Iowa fan. I just, realistically, I liked UNC. UNC was where I grew up, and that was my favorite school in every sport. So going through this process, I went through different phases where, I mean, you know how it is. It's like you go on a visit, you're like, oh, that's my favorite place. I could see myself there, and so it just worked out. I knew I had to take it smart. I couldn't rush in anything. So after all my visits, I focused on wrestling, and then I kind of let the recruiting come back to itself. And I David and him, the guys here were a big part of that. With David, obviously Olympic champ, world champ, NCAA champ. My mom and my dad would tell me that they like see different similarities, and seeing those similarities, I know he kind of knows who I am and what I've gone through, and I believe he could help me to be an Olympic champion, a world champion, NCAA champ. So that's kind of I put my trust in that. I put my trust in, Coach Zoe. I put it in Dayton. All the guys, the RTC guys here that I kind of had a relationship prior to being recruited. I know who like what they've done and what they've helped me to do. And so I just believed out of any place, that was the one where I just felt the most at home, where I wasn't having to go in and create relationships with people where I already kind of had those relationships set in stone from the past.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so one, it's the right fit for you, and that's great, and then and the people and the relationships. Next question is like, does it feel like something's going on there? And I don't mean like something special, right? Because from the outside,
Mhm.
right, it's like Penn State's been doing what they've been doing for 10 plus years, and that's just
Oh
kind
yeah.
of that. And now, does it feel like, hey man, there's something happening in Stillwater, and something, you guys are like on the very beginning of it. Do you feel that?
Yeah, a little bit when like I really stop and think about it. But like when I'm in the room, I'm not really thinking about, man, in a couple years we might be the best team, or man, we're up and coming, stuff like that. And I'm sure all the other guys are the same way. They're just trying to get better. And I know if we each focus on, helping ourselves and each other get better, that that's just the way it works. But I think people struggle with wanting to be the best. Like different recruiting. Some people would be like, "Oh, we want to beat Penn State. We truly think with you coming here with a couple others, we can beat them." But no, David, and all the staff, they never said anything about trying to beat Penn State, trying to beat anybody. They only talked about myself and what they think I can do. And then obviously in the back of their minds is, hey, if we can get this guy to do all this guy to do all this, we can be the best team. But that's another thing I really liked about this place is they don't put any like pressure on you for the team. They're gonna put pressure on you to be the best version of yourself, not to be the best version of this team.
I love it. I love it. And I just like a glimpse, like you mentioned, hey, I worked with Zoe today, and you're really slowing things down. The idea of slowing things down, is that something like you learning here in Stillwater, and that that's a new thing to you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, back home, back in Pennsylvania, we go hard. We go fast. We don't go too long, but we like there's like you're gonna do what you're best at, and you're just gonna keep doing it, and just go harder than everybody, go faster, be stronger, all this stuff. Where here, it's like there's days, don't get me wrong, where I'm doing that, where I'm getting all my reps and doing my number one attack, my number two attack, reattacks. But then there's some days where it's like I'm slowing it down and I'm figuring out new ways to get to my positions, different things like that, to where that stuff is already ingrained in my head. I'm going to go hard, I'm going to go fast, and I'm going to go strong. So it's like if we can really get the precision, the timing, all this stuff to correlate, I mean that's the best version of myself. They keep telling me, and I truly believe that.
Sounds like you're like in a lab. like lab doing experiments, and that's super cool. Um, Obviously, you're in the middle of freestyle. You got a month, let's push back a month with Vito, but you're going back to folk style. Do you have a preference? Do you like one more than the other?
I've always liked folk style more. I just started doing freestyle probably 4 years ago, so I'm still like learning new things, learning how
Amazing.
to like not like scramble. But I've always liked folk style. I like the top and bottom aspect. I like the scrambling. I'm a big scrambler, and I love rolling across my own back in folk style. But obviously, with the success I'm having and the things going along with freestyle, I mean, I love freestyle too. So I go back and forth on it about weekly.
All right. Let's talk U.S. Open, right? You just went out. You had a fantastic showing at the U.S. Open. How was that decision made to wrestle in seniors?
Yeah, it was. I always like talk about my to my parents. Once I saw different high school guys and young college guys who I've wrestled and beaten or lost to, like signing up and doing it, I'm like, man, I wish there was a like a senior trials for 61, because I was planning on just doing just U20s there. And there's weights 57 and 61. I have people in final X, so there's no trials. This is the trials, and I was like, this sucks. I'm not going to be able to wrestle. First off, I was on my visit, so I couldn't wrestle any college opens or anything. And then I'm not going to be wrestling any senior stuff. So, like, it was a lot of talks with my parents, and they're like, hey, if you really feel that strongly about it, go talk to David about it. So I went to talk to David about it. And originally he was saying, just focus on U20s. You're going to have a lot of years to wrestle in the senior division. And so I was like, all right, that makes sense. And then I was leaving, like walking out, getting in the car to go back, and he's in his truck with Tyler and Jimmy, and they call me over, and he's like, "Hey," he was like, "Are you serious about doing the senior stuff? Like, if you're going, you're not going to just place or wrestle and beat one guy. You got to go there with, trying to win. Obviously, things happen. You might not win, you might win, but they're like, if you're gonna go, you got to go to, win. You're not going there just to participate." And so I was like, no, like this is, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like my training's been going really good. I feel good. My weight's good. And so he was like, all right. And then obviously they at first didn't realize that like if I were to take first or second there, I could be on the U23 team. So then once I told David about that, he was like, okay, then yeah, I think this is a good idea. Worst case, you don't do as good, you go to U20s, the trials, and you just wrestle through that tournament. So, but looking back on it, that's one of the things. I'm really happy I ended up going and talking to him, because that changed a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Did that's really cool. I like that you described that. You're getting in the car and they called you over in the truck. Did that
Yeah,
conversation what he said to you, like, basically he said, this is the mentality you have to have. I'm not just going to see how it goes. You have to go to win. Were you already of that mentality, or him telling you that make you have to switch and be like, all right, turn it up?
yeah. I mean, I didn't want to go in there thinking, okay, I'm winning this thing. I was going in there. I saw like the pre-seeds. I was like, all right, Nashon. That's all I'm worried about. I'm worried about trying to beat Nashon. And so ended up that happened. And then Dayton got hurt in his match and lost to Davino. And so I was like, wait, I've wrestled Davino before. I've beat him. I've lost to him. I can beat him too. So I went in there, wrestled a good, smart match. And then in the finals, I had Seth after he beat Marcus. And I was like, wait, he wrestles similar to me. There's no reason like I can't. I've beaten guys who have beaten him before. I've obviously lost to guys that he's beaten, lost to guys that he's lost to too. So I felt like there's no reason why I can't, and so each match I went in that mindset that I can win, finding, a way, to get that transitive property to just prove to myself that I could do it. But, each match I went in thinking I could win. And that's was the best version of myself, I think.
Yeah, I love this little glimpse inside your head. I can tell there's a lot going on, and you analyze wrestling deeply and a lot. And just the way you're describing your approach to these matches is really cool. I want to pull over this U.S. Opens finals if you got a minute. I'm probably
Yeah.
take a few minutes.
Yeah.
But Amanda, our producer, if you want to pull that video up that we sent of the U.S. Open, and then we'll just pull this over or make sure we get it from the start. That looks like the end. Here we go. We're gonna watch this, and I guess just what was your thoughts? You know, did you have a game plan coming into this or an approach? You're a weird wrestler. Seth's a weird wrestler. I don't mean that bad, just
Yeah.
unique, right? What
Yeah,
what,
no,
what
no.
were your thoughts going into this?
I mean, my game plan was let it fly. There was a couple key positions I knew he was really good in, and I didn't want to get into, and I kind of had a little plan for that. But my plan was, try and score more points than him. That was about it.
Okay, yeah. Here's the match. So, um, you can just kind of tell us what you're thinking or any thoughts along the way. You nervous? You gotta be a
Yeah.
little nervous, right?
Yeah, I was kind of nervous here. I mean, once he got to my leg, my dad, I was always talking to my dad because like it's interesting. There's some guys you want to go hard off the whistle. There's some guys you kind of only need to relax. And so I was like, what do I do? Do I go hard? Do I kind of relax? So I tried going hard, and he got to my leg in about a second.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Amanda, can we turn that? If we could turn
yeah,
that volume down. Yeah, that's what you were talking about, the scrambling.
oh yeah, yeah. Here I don't. I was doing good defense. I felt the leg. So I tried coming up, and this is something I actually do like quite a bit, is where I just try jumping backwards and getting points. But if you could see, his hand was like across like
Throat.
my chin.
Okay.
So like I was like, then he ended up getting the points for that, and then right after that we kind of get a flurry where I hit a double leg, and I think that's what saved me the match. Is 6-0 is really hard to come back from. 6-2 is still hard to come back from, but you could if you. I felt that double leg. I knew if I just keep driving and get push outs, I know I could score on him from that shot from just shooting. Because that's something I feel like people are like afraid to shoot on him different times.
Sure.
And once I felt that double leg and just drove it out of bounds, and I felt after that I can score from shooting. Like I don't have to just try and hit a slide by or just wait for him to do something. Like I can shoot and I can score.
Okay, so is it fair to say then from that I'm feeling like going into the match you were thinking obviously Seth's really good with people on his legs. Were you thinking
Yeah.
don't shoot all that much, right? Like that's kind of the game plan. Was that maybe the game plan coming
Yeah,
in?
just be really smart with my attacks. I'm not going to shoot when I don't have to. I'm going to shoot when I need to, or if I feel that big opening. And even here, like during the challenge, I was like still like, oh shoot, I gave up 4 from that. What am I doing? So like I didn't even realize I gave up 4 till after I got out of bounds and came up. So
Yeah,
it was weird, that's for sure.
yeah, that's the word I was going to use. It was a weird situation.
It was, but like I do that. I do that in practice different times, and like I feel comfortable, when I have a leg and they're on my back jumping backwards.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, he felt it, and he just kind of pulled me right back and dropped me on my back.
Yeah. Well, it's a good counter by him.
No, yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things. Like that was one of the positions like I didn't want him to get in, is where he can do these weird things that score off of my trying to do something, and he just holds me or something.
So 6-2 now, right? We got I think
Yeah.
just over 2 minutes, so tons of time. We're gonna go
Oh, a
back
lot
to
of action coming. That's for sure.
nice
Oh yeah,
retake.
there's that like same kind of like reattack, just double. And here's something like I was really struggling before, the open, with finishing my attacks, and for whatever reason it just clicked. I got my butt in, my head up, and I was able to score, and then putting myself in a position where I can get a turn. Now it's 6-6. He's winning our criteria, but that's like a tied match, with 4 minutes and 45 seconds left. There's a lot of time. I know I'm back in this match now.
Yeah, freestyle is so crazy like that, and that's why I like it better now. I used to like folk style better, but it can change so fast.
Yeah, there once again, like I like just step and just like hand it in my leg. So you can actually see in the back, my dad was yelling at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" So it's like there's like that like just carefree aspect of me. Like I just the first 2 seconds I step right and give my leg. here again, he has my arm, and I just put my leg in his arm. So like, and that right there was one of the positions like I knew he was really good with that 2-on-1 snap down. So I, used some flexibility, used some, I just weird, and just kind of fell down and then popped up, and then found that trap arm again. Here is, he's really good defending it. Like I thought, like I could tech him from here, but he did. He like the way he fought was like weird and good. Like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't hold on or keep rolling him.
Man, this is amazing that you said you only started wrestling freestyle 4 years ago. I'm
Yeah,
blown away.
yeah, because I wrestled at Fargo in 21, and that was like my first year like doing freestyle.
Well, you're pretty good at it.
Yeah, trying.
So 30 seconds ago in the first period. 10 unanswered points on somebody as
Yeah,
good as Seth Gross. That's impressive.
yeah, and I think for me, the big part was here was parterre, because I mean, you take away my two turns, it's 6-6. It's a lot different match.
That was so slick.
Yeah, yeah, I love that position.
You just feel that and go, I assume, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like I mean, I have it down where it's like I know the position really well for being like young. I have more reps in there than probably anybody else. So it's like I'm comfortable in there and I'm good at finding that position. And I remember during the break, I walk over. The first thing I'm saying is like, "Holy cow, I am so tired." Like I remember just being so tired, but I was only thinking about being tired. My body was just going and wrestling. So it was like being tired and being like that like helped me. Like cuz like I wasn't thinking about any shots or anything. I was just going and I was like, "Man, I'm tired." And my dad and coach Jody are like, "No, you're not. You're doing good." I was like, "No, coach, I'm tired. I need some water."
I promise you guys, I'm really tired.
Yeah. And I was like, "You guys don't know." And then here it's like I was like I knew I wasn't gonna win 12-6 though. So I like knew like I was gonna have to keep scoring, and that was hard because I was tired and I was just trying to get to my positions. And then here is like this is one of the positions too. Like my dad is like, if you're in a front headlock, do not spin behind. Like just take the stalemate. And so of course, I'm being dumb and I just go and roll, and like he rolls me and then I roll him through. So it ends up being like a 2-2 exchange, which is it isn't bad, but it's one of those things, I got to be smarter in different positions.
Yeah, he nailed it. Your dad was right. Don't just.
He was, yeah. And after the match, I was like, man, like I didn't think I wrestled very good. I thought I was sloppy. I thought I was like just doing things. But the one thing I was saying was my timing was really good in this match. So that's why like in my interviews after, I was like, I'm gonna need to wrestle a lot better to beat Vito, but I know what I need to do, which is good.
Have you watched this match a lot? Much?
Not too much. I mean, I watched it a little bit, like with my dad and my coaches, but I sometimes I feel weird about watching my own matches, like because I don't want to like get a big head. So if I see myself doing good, it'll like make me like a little too like happy and proud of myself. Where it's like I don't want to be arrogant. I want to like stay humble and I just want to get better at positions. So like I'd rather watch matches I lose.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. You can probably learn a lot more.
Yeah, and if you could go back and see that part where I got that push up, my dad is yelling, "Get down! Get in your stance!"
Yeah.
Just funny.
Can you hear him when you're on the mat?
No, I can't hear anything. That's one of the things like my coaches, like that's why my dad does so many hand signals, because like it's hard for me to hear. Like I'm just thinking about the wrestling, so I can't even hear things. So it's like those hand signals is what he did with me growing up and what like helped me. And here I was really tired and I was bleeding, and the ref is like, just wipe it. And I was like, oh, come on.
Let me walk over.
But
Come on, give me a second.
yeah, let me get a sip of water. I don't like this blood taste.
Just wipe it off. Love it.
Yeah.
Suck it up, kid.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. And just unreal.
Oh, that was exciting.
That was man. That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a really good feeling. It was awesome, and just being there. My family was there, my parents, all of them, and my teammates, and so like seeing them after this was just it was an unreal feeling. I mean, it's been like something I've achieved some really cool stuff, but this was different, and just being able to hold that stop sign and that final X qualified sign was it's awesome. It's unfortunate I'm not wrestling on Final X anymore, but the thought is still the same. It's awesome.
Yeah. Um, Going back to that conversation with David in the truck, and as you're getting ready to leave, what was your next conversation with David like after this? Right? He said, if you're going to win. You're not just going to see how you do. Like, was there
Uh
any kind
huh.
of follow up?
Yeah, I just remember seeing him like after, and I'm like, man, I'm so happy I came up and talked to you about this. It's like, that. So like even like a couple days ago, after Pan Am's, I kind of said the same thing. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. Representing U.S. at Pan Am's. Like, I'm so happy I came to talk to you.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, so obviously, you were getting ready, and I don't know, maybe last week I think it got announced that Vito's got an injury and it got pushed a month. Had
Yeah.
you had this information earlier, would you have gone to U20s, try to make the U20 team? Because yeah.
Uh, yeah, probably. That's something I never thought about it until I saw somebody say something online about it, and I was like, dang, I probably would have done U20s if I would have known. Like if it would have been July 14th, obviously, the coaches might not have liked that or wanted me to do it. So, it's one of those things you can't go back and change it.
Right.
But, I probably would have liked to. I was a really good weight, a lot of really good guys. But, like I said, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about Vito delaying it or, the timing or anything. So it's like one thing that Coach Lee said to me was like, hey, don't be upset if you're upset, like just take a step away and like think about what being upset is going to do for you. And I was like, nothing. It's not going to help me get better. It's not going to make the time go by quicker or anything. So it's like, I just took a step back and accepted it and put my foot right back down on the pedal and just keep getting better.
That's great. You mentioned Coach Lee, right? I'm
Yeah.
super impressed with in the entire coaching staff. I know Lee a little bit more on a personal level. I love all those guys, but he's like
Oh yeah.
another little piece of the puzzle. And, wasn't an All American, national, doesn't have the accolades, but has the experience, right, and the wisdom. Maybe explain to me, what your takeaway is of him so far.
Yeah, he's been such a blessing. When I saw that he was, coming to the staff, I was like, oh, this will be interesting. Like I know he's a really, really smart guy, technical, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if we're gonna mix very well. I'm not a big technique kind of guy, but it's he's helped me so much with, my faith, with my wrestling, with my mindset. Like I'll stay after practice and just talk to him about life and about stuff. And, he's been so good for me. And, it's one of those things, God, puts things in your life for a reason. And, I didn't know what it was at first, but, I was open to getting to know him. And, I go in on Wednesdays and I'll wrestle with him and then we'll have a Bible study. So it's, he's helped me so much, and I'm so grateful for him and for the whole staff. Everybody on the staff has helped me in a different way, and I'm really just grateful for all of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're in a great position. You put yourself there, so good for you.
Oh
Um, all right, Vito. Right. So let's just go with it's changed, but you win U.S. Open. You feeling great. How soon did whenever your attention, your focus kind of turned to Vito, and what does that look like? Is it crafting a game plan? Is it just kind of being aware of some positions he's good at? It's more like a UFC fight. You've got a date, an opponent, and getting ready.
yeah, Yeah, so right after the open, I found out like the Pan Am spot would be mine if I wanted it. So, Cowboy RTC, we had a bunch of guys go. So like I was just I didn't want to think about Vito till after that.
Sure.
Because that's where, for me in the past things have gone wrong. I've looked ahead and I don't even look at what's right in front of me and I get beat unexpected or something like that. So, I had to focus right on Pan Ams. And I knew I was gonna have like Joey Silva, he's really good. So like I couldn't overlook him. I couldn't be like, oh, whatever, I can beat
Yeah.
him. I just beat Seth Gross. I just beat Nashon. Like I mean, I had to be ready to wrestle. So, fortunately enough, I was ready. First period of that match was tough, but then I opened it up in the second and got some attacks. And then as soon as Pan Ams were done, I came back and it was like that Tuesday I was in here working, getting better. So it's continuing to keep improving where I'm at right now, getting better positions, and then on top of that, getting better toward, I know some of the stuff he's doing. I've been working on different defenses, different offenses, but I think the main focus is still, I'm Jax Forrest. I'm not the, guy who's just trying to beat Vito. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And, July 14th, the best version of myself will be there. And if I win two matches or lose two matches, it's, I'm going to continue to keep getting better from it. And it's, I'm just surrendering the outcome. That's something that Lee has been really helping me with. It's just surrendering the outcome. And, the outcome's going to come. I'm going to do everything I can to win. But whether I do ultimately win or lose, it's, the opportunities were still there. And all these things are going to help me be a better person in the end.
I can hear the similarities. You sound like Parker Keckheisen. Or these are
Yeah.
things that he's said, right, in the same spot before. And clearly the
Yeah.
influence
Oh, yeah.
was Lee, surrender the outcome and just like yeah, that's great. Great advice. And I love all of it. Um,
Oh,
uh, oh, so June 14th was circled on your calendar and that's what,
yeah.
your
Yeah.
tapering or, your training was for that. And then they're like, boom, pushed back to months. So how did that change when, the intense, your practices are probably somewhat set, right? We're going to go hard these days. We're going
Oh,
to go
yeah.
light these days and we're going to be ready on this date. Now it's like, scratch that, push it back a month. How did things change training wise?
Yeah, so I found out on it was Monday night or Tuesday morning. I found out, and so Tuesday is a circuit day. So I go in at 2. I'm like, Zahid, Joey, and Wyatt are all doing one round because they're the Final X guys. So I'm like, maybe I'll be able to sneak through and only have to do one round today. We're still figuring all this stuff out. But nope. Zoe comes back. He's like, hey, you're not wrestling for another month. You could do the whole thing. So I mean, it started immediately. My training went from tempering down, getting ready, feeling good to, oh, we're ramping it up. We're going hard again.
Wow.
So, I've had different practices this week, and they've been tough, but it's good. It's what I need. I made a lot of improvements in 10 days before the open. So the way the coaches are telling me is look how much better you can get in another month. So it's a blessing in disguise. Whether I win or lose, I'm going to get better.
Yeah, I love it. And you're in Stillwater right now. I don't
Yep.
know. How does that change your personal life? Because you probably were like, I'm guessing you're going to stay until June and then go, were you going to go back to Pennsylvania after Final X?
Yeah, yeah, I was going to be with my family, be with my friends. Still wrestling. I'm really fortunate. Wherever I'm at, whether it's Pennsylvania or Oklahoma. But it's been great. My parents and my brothers actually were at U20s. Before we found out that it was delayed, they actually drove down to Oklahoma and were with me for 3 to 4 days, and they were down here with me when they figured it out, and so they helped me through that a lot. And it's I'm with the guys a lot. They're helping me get better, helping me just in every aspect of life. We go to church, we go to Bible studies, all this stuff. So not too much has changed with my personal life besides the people that I'm around. I'm still doing the same things as I would back home in Pennsylvania.
Sure. Okay. Just got a couple other things that we're gonna, I guess, change the subject. Obviously, we're still talking wrestling, but games, whatever you want to call these. This first one's called Wins and Whoopins. So I want to like over the
Hmm.
entire span of your entire wrestling career, from the when you called your own pin till your last match, and anyone in between. a win. It doesn't have to be your best, although it can be your favorite, but just a win that stands out as memorable and like
Mhm.
just a whooping you took. And we've all taken whoopings where you come off the mat and you're like, I don't even know how to wrestle. Right. So one win and one whooping. You can do either one first.
Yeah, so the win, I think the most memorable, at least in recent time, would be wrestling Tomasello. I think that's when, like, I knew he was going to be good. I knew it was going to be really hard because we were so different styles.
Mm-hmm.
But I just walked off that mat and I was like, man, I'm a good wrestler. Like, I'm a good senior level wrestler. Like, I went into the last chance qualifier like I was just looking to beat somebody good and just prove to myself, that I'm pretty good. But after that match, qualifying for the Olympic trials, that's one where I was really happy, and that the rest of that day was awesome in Fairfax, Virginia.
I bet.
Yeah,
All right. Whooping.
and then a whooping. Let me see. I know back at the Clarion Open a couple years ago, I wrestled Matt Ramos, and that one was ugly. I got cradled to my back in the first and gave up 7, and then I'm wrestling like right after that, I'm getting beat up, or it might have been 6. I think that was when it was 2-point takedown, 4-point near fall,
Okay.
and then so I'm wrestling, and so like I get caught with that, but I'm like, all right, I can still come back. And then again, I'm wrestling in the third period. So I'm still down by, well, I think I was down by 9 now. Yeah, I think I gave up another takedown, got a takedown, got a reversal or something like that. But I was still like getting beat bad. And I was down by 8 or 9, I think. And then I'm going for something, pushing out of bounds, and I get lat dropped right out of bounds, toe in bounds. And so he just, and then he holds me on my back for the rest of the match. So I got tech falled by him in that match. And I walked off that mat and I was like, I thought I was good. I thought I could beat him, but that one was a butt whooping. And I wish I could get that one back, but I don't know if that'll happen ever. But I he's Matt's a good guy. I've talked to him at the Olympic training center and stuff, but that was one that was a whooping.
Man, that's like cataloged. You're like just like I think I got a reversal, and then this happened, and this like are is that the way it is for most of the matches you wrestled, or because that one stands out, you remember the details more?
It's random. I could tell you about something from a match a long time ago, but I couldn't tell you something from last week. I'm just like that. There's some things that I can remember really good, and then I get in trouble for it all the time. I forget things so easily. But there's some things that I'll never forget.
Sure, Matt Ramos is one of them. That match, anyways. All right,
Yeah,
all right. Last thing I think is just all time favorite. Who's your all time favorite wrestler, Jax?
that's a good question. I like growing up, I never really had like an all-time favorite wrestler. I just liked wrestling. If I had to tell you my all-time favorite wrestler was my dad. And he wrestled D3 at Binghamton. So, but I really liked David Taylor growing up. I liked because my dad liked David, so I liked David. I liked I mean like just the best guys that you can think of. I always liked the underdog. So like if there's an underdog who ended up winning, I was like, "Yup, I like that guy."
Yeah.
And then different like Mike Macuvella, he was from North Carolina, born and raised, and won a national title. And I remember I was so happy when he won because I was there. And so like I couldn't give you like just a single person that I grew up and like wanted to be like. I mean, I wanted to be like everybody and take different things from each person.
We'll go with your dad. Fair.
We'll go with my dad. That's a good one.
Awesome. Well, sweet, Jax. It's been great talking with you and getting to know you a little bit more,
Right.
and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. I'm going to give you the final word to say anything you want to say about anything.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys. Thank everybody. Thank just Jesus for just being here, giving me these opportunities. It's nothing less than the best for me, and that's what I love about my Savior Jesus is it seems like everything happens for a reason. Even the bad things come around, and 10 years down the road they're going to be good. And so I don't know what the plan is now, but the plan's going to come, and I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe in and what I love. And that's going to be the best version of Jax Forrest eventually. We'll get there someday. That's for sure.
Awesome, Jax. Well, appreciate the time today. Wish you the best of luck.
Oh, yeah.
July 14th in Fargo.
July.
And
Back at Fargo.
yeah, awesome. We'll be keeping an eye on you for a long time. Best of luck with
Awesome.
everything, Jax.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Take care. All right, folks. That's going to do it. Jax Forrest, he's wrestling Vito Arujau. July 14th, winners going to World Championships. That's it for today's show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Adios.